Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, then this is the show for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create the life you love or love the life you create. Now here's your host, Dr. April, and her co-host, Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. Welcome, Coach K. How are you doing?
I am doing amazing. And how about yourself?
I am doing great. Yes. And I'm really excited about today's topic because, as you know, just, meeting with people, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. And so
it really is.
Yes, it definitely is. It's this emotional roller coaster that many people are on, whether it's from relationships, work, family, friendships, and they're like, I don't know what to do about it.
Absolutely. And just to give a picture of what we're talking about, if anyone has ever visited an amusement park and you went on your favorite roller coaster, it's fun, but it is also, you can't control where it goes. You can't control how your body feels. You kind of just like, you're at the realm of the roller coaster.
Right. And sometimes you have these high moments, but then sometimes it drops you unexpectedly or whatever. It goes way down. Yes. And it's like, oh my gosh, there's a pit in my stomach.
Absolutely. And once you get off of it, you're like, whew, that was rough. Most people want to go again, but there are some people that's like, I'm never going on that. And so I'm glad we're talking about this today, because I guess we're going to be talking to both parties, the one that wants to do it again and the ones that are like, I'm done.
Right. I'm glad you said, I'm done, because you do have a choice on whether you go on an emotional roller coaster in any situation. And we're going to talk more specifically about that. But before we get into that, I'd always here at Bringing Intimacy Back, we also highlight a nonprofit. And our nonprofit for this month is Patty's Place. Patty's Place is a great organization in Southwest Florida that helps individuals and families struggle with mental health. And so they have a one size does not fit all. They help people individually, which is great. So if you're thinking about, what kind of charity should I donate to? Or, maybe I need some mental health, pattysplace.org is a great organization.
I love it. I love it, especially individuality. And, even thinking about right now.
Yes.
Conversation.
Yes. And definitely if you're out there and you're thinking about maybe doing a couples retreat or anything, we do have a special going on. So definitely hit me up, email me and say you heard about this show, and you may end up getting a discount code on vacation counseling retreats. Yes. And
that's a good deal.
Yes, it is a good deal. So even if you're thinking about, I don't know if I should go on a roller coaster because we're on this emotional roller coaster, and you're like, I don't know if we should go on a retreat. Yes, definitely. That's the ones that we would definitely need. So yes. And of course, just to let you know about the retreats, the price have dropped. So think about joining.
So you're getting a special coupon code, discount code, and the prices are already gone down. Yes. And where are these retreats held? Let's just go ahead and put that part to add the topping on the cake.
The topping is that it is held in beautiful Costa Rica. Yes, where it is just This is going to be in June, toward the end of June, right before July 4th, which is a wonderful space for you to just focus on you as a couple. There's not other, distractions such as TV and all this other stuff that distracts us from focusing on the relationship. So yes, definitely.
All right. So
Yes.
yeah, a question. How far is the
Yes.
organization from Tampa?
Oh, okay. So for bringing intimacy back, we're all over. And my business, in the sense of what I do, I'm very close to Tampa. I'm only about 40 minutes away from Tampa.
Oh, that's cool. And I'm all the way in Virginia, so.
Yes.
And our retreats are in Williamsburg, so that's a good little hump away from there as well. But Costa Rica is a good distance, but it's well worth the ride. You're getting a good price, and you can get that special coupon code. So make sure you guys do email. It's definitely an amazing journey.
Yes, definitely. So as we talk about journey, many people throughout their lives have what we call this journey of being on emotional roller coasters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and as we're talking about this, I guess number one, we probably should break down what an emotional roller coaster is.
Absolutely. And a part of the emotional roller coaster involves some, trauma.
Right.
So then we even go further and let's, you know, break down that what trauma is versus what we've all been shown on TV or what we have assumed that it is.
Mm. So what you're saying is, or what we're alluding to, is that the trauma that I think is trauma may be different from your trauma.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes.
One of the things, and I'll just though sometimes when I'm talking to not even just a client, but just someone in general, I like to give the example of um, a traumatic experience could be that as a child you were walking into the kitchen and your bare feet stepped on a spider, and that's like you feel like you're out of control. You really can't, you don't know what to do, as a child, and you're almost frozen in that moment. And so fast forward to 20, 30 years later, you see a brown spider on your windshield. And some people say, how can you crash your car behind a spider? Well, if that brown spider triggers you because that was a traumatic moment. People don't think about that as trauma.
Right. Right. People only think about it's got to be something at war, or or there's violence, but really, being something traumatic, it's unique to each of us, and it's that experience where something is so shocking that sometimes it startles our heart rate races, and yeah, and it has a lasting impact on us.
And it's that trauma that takes us through this emotional roller coaster that we sometimes live on. Some people just want to get off.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And so I know that we've been talking about this, and sometimes when we talk about this and when we promote the shows, people have questions, and we have some questions that have been coming up. And so one of the question, and this must be a man's question, it says, do women enjoy their emotional roller coaster in a relationship?
Well, I'm going to speak as a woman and say, no. Most traditional and sane minds do not enjoy an emotional roller coaster inside of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Although some women may live inside of that emotional roller coaster, and it almost alludes to the question that someone asked us on LinkedIn when they said, can we talk about unresolved issues and triggers? It almost relates to that. When we have those unresolved issues and triggers, although they are triggers and they're, unhealthy, that may be a comfort place. And so if someone is living in that inside of a relationship, it's because it's a comfort place. So while we normally do not enjoy living inside an emotional roller coaster, it's the comfort that we feel when we're in that place, even though we don't want to be there. Where, it's uncomfortable for everyone around us, and it's toxic and unhealthy. If we don't resolve those triggers or those issues, we end up living there, and it looks to the other party like, oh, you just must love taking me through this roller coaster.
Right. And you know what? I was just thinking what it looks like to the other partner. But you know how you're on a roller coaster. And for some people, they yell and scream and they have their hands up, and others just hold it. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't really like roller coasters. So I'm quiet and I'm just holding on. So an emotional roller coaster can also look the same way.
Mm.
Just because you see your partner yelling and screaming and whatever the case may be. But if, because some men are very quiet, you know what I'm saying? They shut down and they just hold on,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not dealing with their feelings. They're just like grunting it, like, got to make it through. Well, inside of you, you're going on an emotional roller coaster also.
Right. Absolutely. And that silent man that's sitting there just going through it, they're going through it because they want to be next to their partner. They want to be in that place where they feel like they're enjoying it. So I'm just going to ride this roller coaster with them, when, for all we know, their partner who has their hands up yelling may not even really want to be on that roller coaster.
Right, right. And when you're on that emotional roller coaster, and for many people who do sessions with me, many times I said it's when you're flooded, you're on there. Sometimes you cannot even hear the other person, or the person
Mm.
can't even hear you. And you cannot even hear yourself. You're so upset. Yeah, but your body's reacting, your voice may be reacting, but you're not dealing with the true hurt. And as JJ George mentioned, this month, of course, and as we've mentioned before, but this month is really Mental Health Awareness Month. Yes. And so one of the things when you're on that emotional roller coaster, what it may look like for some people, crying, yelling, screaming, sleeping. Some people break out in hives.
Yeah.
It affects their skin. Yeah. Some people get, I don't know, heartaches, headaches,
Mhm.
migraines.
It affects you in so many ways. People who wear glasses, your eyes start to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we look at obese people and we judge. Oh my gosh, not thinking that eating could have been the way they coped with or are coping with
Right.
those experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's good to get, professional help. That self-care is extremely important. And I know
It
there's
really
a
is.
question out there. It's like, what about infertility, and infidelity, work, breakups? Do we have to get on an emotional roller coaster when life doesn't turn out the way we expect it to turn out?
We don't have to. Sometimes we end up on it by accident. But
Mm-hmm.
if we're present and fully aware of ourselves and our own limitations, because maybe we have sought out that professional um, support and we have those tools away in our toolbox. I always like to refer to this as the
Yes.
toolbox, that subconscious. We start bringing those tools forward, and we stop ourselves and thinking about being on that roller coaster while we're just terrified inside. Then we, as our LinkedIn folks, we talk to ourselves. Okay, listen, we're on here. The roller coaster is going. What can I do for me to keep me in a calmer state? What can I do to ensure that I don't get back on this coaster? And what was it that caused me to get in this place? Finding out that root cause.
Mm-hmm.
The example I gave earlier, that brown spider at 25 years old, do you really remember everything from when you were 3 on the forefront? But if you sit back and maybe you've gotten some tools from that professional support and you say, oh my gosh, now I understand why I go like into I just black out when I see a brown spider. I remember when I was 3 or 4 or 5 and I stepped on this brown spider and I just freaked out. And now I understand why seeing a brown spider takes me to a place of emotions where I lash out at my partner or I get like super scared or whatever it is that happens. So recognizing and finding out where that trigger point is, that core reason is, so that when you see the brown spider next time, you can talk yourself through it. Okay, it's a brown spider.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bigger than that spider. I can also avoid walking that way where that spider is. So I'm giving myself steps to not be re-triggered. And eventually I may get to the point where I see it and it doesn't even faze me.
Right, exactly. And I'm glad we talked about that self-talk. So of trying to figure out what is the root cause. And sometimes when we're just in our head, we tend to take full blame,
Yeah.
from everything of not being able to have a baby, like maybe it was something I ate, something I did, or this or that, to, a husband cheating or a wife cheating on me. Maybe I wasn't there for them in some aspect, to even death. Really, we put all the blame on us. And
Yeah.
so it's really important to have the right perspective, which is why sometimes you need to go speak to someone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you can truly understand. And sometimes you may not even ever figure out what the true cause is
Right.
in life. I mean, I would love to say I know everything, the reason why, but in speaking it and talking through it, you learn to heal and you learn to understand that your life may never be the same, but it's okay. And this too, in some ways, won't be as intense as time passes by.
Absolutely. And JJ George on LinkedIn, making that comment, he's absolutely, he or she, they're right. Sometimes in the Black community, older men, they don't like to cope with, emotions or seek that help. And usually it's because either A, as a younger person, they were clowned or saw someone who was joked on because they cried or whatever, or two, they don't know what they don't know and they don't know how to start. Typically, when you want to seek that support and help, you turn to your partner or a family member.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if your partner or your family member hasn't created a safe enough space for you to speak up, then you just shut down.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about this, and especially in the Black community, it really goes all the way back to slavery.
Yes,
You
it
know,
really does.
to me, yeah, I see it that way. It's how we were trained, or back then, ancestors were trained to just work, 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 and not showing any form of weakness.
Yeah.
And how that's passed from generation to generation. And even as I was growing up, I was told, you're not supposed to cry. You got to suck it up.
Yeah. You got to be strong, independent Black woman.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
what your man, he has a whole family down the road. You just keep taking care of the kids in the household and you just deal with it. And hush, hush, don't tell everybody your business.
Exactly.
Keep it to yourself. So yeah, that has been definitely passed down through verbally, and sometimes it is in our DNA, our actions, and how we are emotionally triggered, which is like that's one of the reasons why you may not be able to find the root cause, because it's I never knew my father. He killed himself when I was 6 months, but I have many traits and characteristics of him via DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't explain some of the behaviors or the feelings that I have. So you're right, it's passed down.
Right. Definitely. And it's like you said, passed down from one generation to the next to the next. And so it's recognizing, and then it's saying to yourself, what do I want to pass on to my generation, to my next? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because how you're acting and, on this emotional roller coaster, maybe it's just things getting out of control and you're yelling and screaming and all that, or maybe you're not even saying anything. But you have younger ones who are
Mm,
watching. And
absolutely.
yeah, and is that what you want to, pass on?
I love to, when the kids come to me, sometimes they'll bring a video, on the TikTok, like I call it. And they say, Mama, look at this. Or they tell me a story. Oh, this girl, she did this in the classroom and blah, blah, blah. Or, and after I listened to the story, I looked back at them and I said, what were you thinking when you watched them do that thing? And once they tell me, I say, now you always remember that. You don't want to be that person. And if you're able to talk to that person, you can maybe teach them, hey, you don't have to get up in the middle of the classroom and yell, or do you need to talk to someone, or can I take you to the counselor so maybe you can talk that through? So helping our little ones to be aware that people don't just typically act out for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
They're going on an emotional roller coaster. And when you're a child, you don't know how to control that.
Mm-hmm.
So helping your children to be aware, they may help another child to be aware, which could help the adults because that child could see uncontrolled emotions in their household.
I definitely. And I love how you put that part of awareness. And one of the first awareness, I think, when we talk about emotional roller coasters is understanding your triggers and understanding your body response
Mm,
to those triggers. So, like you said, understanding, like, oh, maybe it's the spider, maybe this is what happens. But before you get like verbally XYZ, something happens to your body.
mm-hmm,
And that's one of the first things I ask couples is, what does it look like when your partner gets upset? Or I ask a person, what does it feel like when you start to get upset?
mm,
Because if you know that, like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to get upset, you know, my emotions are starting, then you can plan the next step. I
yeah,
know now I need to take a break, or I need to go for a walk, or I need to get some water or stretch. Yes, because the body will tell you. The body remembers everything. It's happened to it. Body keeps score.
it does. We have to learn to listen to our bodies. I know a young lady who, at least 5 to 15 minutes before she has an anxiety attack, she knows.
Mm-hmm.
And she may call and say, I'm about to have a panic attack. I'm going to drive to you. Or I just need to be on the phone, because she's finally become aware and listening to her body. Hands may get sweating. Like you said, your heart rate may start to go higher.
Mm-hmm.
Your mouth may start to get dry. Some people think, oh, I'm just thirsty. You think about that.
Yes.
Some people nose may start to run.
Yes.
Your feet might get sweaty. There's so many triggers. You may get
Yes.
super tired.
Right. Right. Yeah. I know. I break out in like hives. My neck starts to break out when I get. Yeah. But it's these little things. Yeah. And so once you know that, and as GJ George is talking about, it's about, I know that. Now, what can I do to cope? What are my
Mm,
coping skills?
yes. Yeah. How can I be the student and the teacher in this moment by
Mm-hmm.
learning to listen to my body and oblige what I need to do to stop this from full blown happening. Or for, like, say, for an anxiety attack, you know that it's going to come on. How do I make sure that I go through it in the safest and most productive way that I can?
Mm-hmm.
Because the reality is sometimes you will still go through that emotional roller coaster.
Right.
But how do you do it the safest way? The same way they tell you. When you're on the ride, keep your hands inside the cars, keep your feet flat, don't turn around.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the three things that we learned in the actual real roller coaster world. So when I'm going through this emotional roller coaster, say like you said, the halves are starting to come. You just like you said, I'm going to excuse myself from around other people.
Right.
I'm going to go either into the bathroom or the bedroom. Maybe I turn on calming music. Maybe I turn the shower on. Maybe I touch some different trigger points that help me calm down
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to go through this. So I don't want to take anybody else on that ride.
Right. Right. Another good technique that people use sometimes is also just journaling or getting it out
Yeah.
and in an environment that doesn't impact others. Whether it's
Yeah.
on paper, you journal out all your frustration. Of course, you can destroy it, you text it on your phone, or some people just, if they're in the car, they just speak it out, so no one else can hear it. The point is not to let it eat you up inside.
Absolutely. You holding it in is not going to be productive for yourself at all. So you definitely want to find those ways that you can at least get them out. And you saying journaling is so huge, some people are like, oh, it's overrated, but it works. I
Right.
want you to really listen to your favorite music artists. I want you to go back, and I challenge all of you to do this. Go back to your favorite artist. I want you to listen to their very first album.
Mm.
And I want you to hear the emotion that are in that album. And then I want you to listen to their present day album. You can listen, to the collection going forward.
Right.
But you may be able to hear the journey that artist, and y'all know my favorite artist is Mary J. Blige. Y'all know
Okay. Okay. Mine's is
that.
Prince. Okay.
And so that's a good one too.
Yes. Yes.
By the
Yes.
way, if any of you ever run across Mary J. Blige, just tell her to call me. But anyway, um, if you really listen to her first album and her, not just her words, hear her soul. And every time that she was going through whatever, you can hear it in her music. That's
Mhm.
journaling. Journaling, they wrote songs. Now, some of her songs came from other people. Yes, I get that, but that's beside the point. Just listen to the first album of your favorite artist and hear how they journaled their emotions.
Yeah, I love how you put that. And I kind of also want to go back to the person who we've been talking about, the person who has a lot of stuff to say. But if you're in a relationship and you're like the person is yelling and screaming, and you're like, I'm just going to sit and listen. But you're really not there. Or you're like, I can't wait till this person shuts up or whatever. You are on an emotional roller coaster. It is better for your relationship to say, hey, honey, I need to step away, calm myself down so I can be fully present. Because when you're talking to someone and they're not there, their body's there, but they're not there, that's plain rude and
Yeah.
disrespectful. Yeah, yeah, that's how, people get so much more upset.
Yeah, because now you're not listening to me. So now you're already triggered and you're inside this roller coaster, and now this new you just added on to it. So imagine a roller coaster and it just started thunderstorming. So now you're on this roller coaster in a rainstorm.
Yes. Yeah, but I do understand that sometimes people anxiety gets so high, and one of the things that a lot of people talk about, which is something free to do, is to breathe,
Ooh, yeah.
to stop and just take deep breaths. And people say, like, why would I do that? Well, it slows down these thoughts, it calms the body down, it helps you become more present. And of course, besides that, and music is also just a great way to also help you to calm down.
Hmm. And I forget who it was, but somebody was telling me that they didn't see the point of rage rooms. And I said, well, you may have never had rage inside of you. Someone who has such a buildup of emotions, and they, typically maybe they don't let them out, or they don't do any other traditional methods. The reason why rage rooms have become so popular, and they're in a lot of places, and they're even in some couples therapy sessions sometimes, is because that energy that's built up, when you're able to smash something without harming another person or personal property, can be helpful. That is not the sign of a violent person.
Mm-hmm.
That is just an alternative method to let go of unhealthy energy that is built up. And yes, exercising is a great way also, because again, you're rechanneling that emotion and energy that's built up. Going to the gym, taking a walk around the neighborhood, running in place, yoga,
Right.
rechanneling and removing that energy and emotions.
Right, definitely. And as JJ George stated, um, there's a variety of things that can trigger you. It can be people, places, and things. You can go
Hmm.
somewhere and then all of a sudden you are triggered. You don't even know why. And you've got, like you said, this pent up rage that you got to do something with. And sweating is one way of just releasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and going to those rage rooms is a great idea. I've done that where you just go and you're able to let it out, to break something. That is, and that's what those rooms are for, is to let it out.
Mm. And I like how you said that. Just reiterating what JJ George said about the people, places, and things being triggers. Someone who's been through a traumatic experience, say that they were, a, a physical traumatic experience, a smell
Hmm.
could take them into a state of emotional roller coaster. And just thinking about a promiscuous young adult,
Right.
right? We look at them as, oh my gosh, they're just being nasty. Why are they doing this? Without taking the time to say, talk to me, what's going on? A
Hmm.
smell could have triggered this person based on a traumatic experience physically that happened to them, that puts them in almost that same state, and
Right.
they act out sexually. That's a
Right.
real thing. When those change behaviors happen to people, instead of looking at them like, oh, what's wrong with you? It's really lean into it and ask, has something happened? And I think I said this. This is how I found out about a young lady who had been sexually assaulted like a year prior to,
Right.
is because of the change in behavior. And I simply just asked, has something happened to you in the last 6 months or year, that did someone touch you, that, and she just kind of put her head down. I was like, yes. But instead of me yelling, like, why are you acting like this? What is wrong with you? And adding to her anxiety, I recognized that there was a change in body language and behavior. And I asked the question.
Hmm.
So that's something that we all can be more aware of, that when we see someone acting out, we see somebody who's yelling in the middle of the grocery store, and they're yelling at their 2-year-old. They're usually not just yelling because they love to yell at toddlers. There is something emotionally happening within them, that what something has triggered, that may not have anything to do with the 2-year-old. The 2-year-old is just 2-year olding,
Right.
but they're catching that.
Hmm.
So as another adult, we have to get out of that mode of, I'm just minding my business, and just being okay with saying, are you okay? Do you need any support?
Hmm. Right. And I'm glad to had you how you said that. And it's approaching the person, but approaching the person in a calm way, not
Yes,
adding more heat, but like you say, in a low tone, and to say, do you need anything, with sincerity?
absolutely. You know, crazy enough, this wouldn't even come on anyone's radar as an emotional roller coaster. And it's happened millions of times to millions of people. But I went into Family Dollar a couple days ago, And I get up to the counter. It's early in the morning, and a little 8-year-old, maybe 10-year-old, 8 or 10-year-old little boy was in there. And he had his little wallet. She rang up all his stuff, and she gave him the cost. And he immediately backed up from the counter and turned around, like he said, because I think maybe an adult was in there with him. And then he kind of got himself back together. And he said, just take off the soda. I was like, don't take nothing off. I stuck my card and I said, I tell you what, you just do good in school today. Him having to put that back and feeling like he wasn't enough or he didn't have enough. And the way that his body language read, I would prefer that he have a great day at school,
right,
than me mind my business. And that's sometimes what happened. We don't think about that as an emotional roller coaster, but in that moment, his mind went 15,000 places.
Right.
This is embarrassing. They see that I don't have enough. I have to tell them to put something back. I can't. Da, 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 da. It's okay for us as humans to give to someone else that we don't even know when we notice their body language and what's going on. Now, it doesn't have, you don't do that with everyone, but it's something that you notice, and you again, like Julia Grassy, de-escalate.
right. And sometimes I'm just thinking, even as I said earlier, we don't know why some things happen to us where we are cheated on, or not having a baby, or breakups, or all that kind of stuff. And bad things do happen to all of us. But sometimes we can use those things, learn from them as we help others go through that. So when something bad happens, you don't have to go on an emotional roller coaster and be all verbally and outwardly upset that it causes, I call it, you vomit. Like you verbally vomit. Yes. We can deal with the pain in a different manner. And it's okay to cry. It even biblically says there's a time to cry. Yeah. Which is a sense of relief, sense of release. You know what I mean? And it's part of grief.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be sad and with all these things, because they didn't happen the way we expected. But as we go through that process of letting out those emotions in a healthy manner, there is some healing that happens. It doesn't mean that your life's going to be always the same, because that may not happen, and that's okay. But it will be, you'll get to a point where you can have some relief and maybe even some joy.
And that's the important part, is that joy and relief.
Yeah. So in wrapping this up, and the reason why we were talking about emotional triggers, because I was just thinking, it really is, this show's about intimacy, connecting. But emotional triggers really are like firewalls.
Yeah. I like how you said that. Yes, they are. And that stops you from becoming intimate within yourself.
Right. And it's really important to understand your triggers, have some coping skills, get professional help. And of course, as J.J. George states, and, I definitely believe, of course, ask your higher power, ask God for help.
And pay attention to the signs. I love that he put that in there. Pay attention to the signs. We ask for things and we don't pay attention to the answers. My gracious, yes. Oh, and also pay attention to those around you who fuel your anxiety and that fuel your emotions.
Yes. Who's putting more heat into the room? Who's help taking away that heat and providing comfort? Yes, you got to recognize that. But yeah, I'm glad you say pay attention to the signs. Pay attention. And that's being aware.
Yes.
Being fully present. Yes. The last thing I'm going to say about emotional triggers may not be the last thing, but I was just thinking emotional triggers takes you out of the present moment.
Yeah.
And that's how you know when you're triggered. When you're like, oh my gosh, yes. So you're talking to someone about, I don't know, the bills, but the next thing you know, you're remembering stuff from your own past of, being poor or whatever, or maybe 2 weeks ago, losing XYZ. You've left that same topic that you were talking about.
Yeah. Distracted,
yes. Yes. So as we said earlier, professional help, spirituality does work, physical exercise, using art, music. Yes, drawing, writing, all great things. And of course, the free thing, some of these are free too, of just breathing.
Yes. And some people may be saying, breathing, I do that every day. But breathing, listen to what she's saying, breathe. Yes. There is a difference.
Yes, take time and breathe. Yes. Well, we'll be back in a moment. And we'll see you on the other side. We'll be back in a moment.
Renew your love in beautiful tropical Costa Rica, the romantic getaway with your loved one. We'll make sure it happens. Vacation Counseling provides one-on-one counseling, intimacy sessions, yoga, ziplining, and so much more to help you and your partner rekindle the passion. Join us this summer in Costa Rica with Vacation Counseling. Book today on vacationcounseling.com.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real.
That was an amazing, amazing discussion. And I believe that we are probably touched many and will be touching more as they rewatch this. And I still challenge everyone, just like we said earlier, go back and listen to your favorite artist's first album.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and then compare it to the most current or the last album. Yes,
absolutely. That was refreshing for me. And I tell you what, let's take it a step further. If you, wherever you're listening to this, drop in the chat who that artist is, what their first album is, and what you heard in that album. We would love to know that. Mm-hmm. We would love to know that. If you're watching this, wherever you are, if you're able to leave that comment and let us know who that artist is, what that first album is, and what you heard in that album.
Definitely. And I'd like to thank JJ George and Wayne for their comments on the show today. Yes.
Absolutely. And we do have some more shows coming up for us in the future, some more amazing shows. And remember, you guys can keep this conversation going in the chat as we talk about our upcoming shows. So on May the 25th, we have The Magic of Connection with Tom Glaser. On June the 1st, Gemini season is coming. We have Psychedelics Orgasm with Tara Galino. I can't wait for that one. On June the 8th, we have Does Your Child's Sexuality Measure Who You Are as a Parent? Me and Dr. April will be talking about that. That's going to be a really good topic. And then on June 15th, I love this one. Confessions of a Hollywood Sex Addict with Dan Harare. That's going to be a very, 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 very interesting topic. All of them are.
Yes, definitely. And I can't wait to listen and hear about the next shows coming up. Well, thank you guys. If you like us, please don't forget to rate us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook and LinkedIn, and wherever you hear this podcast. And we will see you guys next week. This has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show. See you later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back, where intimacy is real. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Dr. April Brown's 7-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon. We'll see you next Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe.